Okay, if you are new to this channel, first of all, welcome. This is just kind of a monthly vlog that I do, a little bit different. I do have some other stuff, but I'll save the rambling till the end. I'll get right to the Monty Python part for those of you that may have stumbled across this, and so I won't keep you waiting. I just want to say that what got Monty Python on my mind, I was watching Justine Stafford's video about an escape from a nursing home. All the residents of a nursing home break out and run around doing silly, childish things. And I was telling her, that I thought that was a really good video. Did not know at the time I was watching it she was only 13 when she made that. And I'm going to leave a link to that if you want to click the icon in the upper right hand corner. Didn't know she was 13. She actually won it was like a young filmmakers contest, like a short film award. She actually got to go to South Korea and stuff like that. And she was a little surprised by it. She said, you realize that I was only 13 when I made that, and that it is very Irish. And I said, well, doesn't matter how old you were, good is good. And I thought it was really funny. And of course, I guess my sense of humor to some extent has been formed over the years, because I've always been open to watching different kinds of television and comedy from around the world, really. And Monty Python was one of those things that at a very young age, even when I didn't understand all the jokes, I was watching it. And the first station in America to carry Monty Python was the station that I watched out of Dallas, Texas, KERA Channel 13. The same station I was watching Sesame Street and Zoom on. I was watching Monty Python. And it's a pretty interesting story. It's one of those that I haven't seen out a lot. And so I thought I would tell the story of how Monty Python came to be and how close it came to not being anything. Monty Python ran on BBC, I think between 1969 and 1973. And even the BBC was not particularly high on it, I don't think. It was not unusual even at the time, for American TV stations to buy these British comedies to air on their channel. But nobody wanted to touch it. There was one station in Boston that showed some interest. Their program director actually flew to England, met with the guys, sat down for a screening of it, and when it was over, they said he was white as a sheet, and said there's no way we can air that in Boston. Well, the BBC contacted a guy named RWJ. He was the program director at Channel 13 and out of Dallas, KERA. They sent him some tapes, and they said, this is the last chance for Monty Python's Flying Circus. If you guys don't buy it, we're just going to stick it in a box, shove it in a corner in a dark room, and forget about it. And this is the spring of 1974. For Mr. DeVolier, they sent him two big boxes full of video cassettes. And so he didn't have very high hopes, because, like I say, they were honest with him. They said, hey, look, nobody else wants this. This is the last shot. And so he sat down the next afternoon and said, well, I'll go ahead and take a look at it. And he's thinking he'd run through, one or two tapes and then go have dinner. And he ended up falling in love with it. He ended up staying there all day, watching the videotapes. And so he calls them back right then, and he says, okay, we'd like to buy it. I'm going to have to run this past the president and general manager, who was a guy named Robert Wilson. Now, a little fun fact about Robert Wilson, that is actually the father of Owen and Luke Wilson. Wow. He was the president and general manager of KERA, and he was actually going to have, well, he wasn't even going to have the final word on it. He was the next step. You have to remember, in Dallas, Texas at the time, they were very, and still are really, very image aware. One thing you do have to remember is at that time we were about a decade removed from the John F. Kennedy assassination. There was still kind of the city that killed Kennedy feel to things, and so they were very conscious of image. So putting out stuff like this on TV was a bigger deal than you might automatically think. But Mr. DeVolier, he goes to Robert Wilson, and he queued up, if you're a Monty Python fan, you'll know what I'm talking about here, the cheese shop sketch and the lumberjack musical number. Or Robert Wilson, to use an expression, died laughing. They were just rolling around laughing. He loved the show. He loved those two bits anyway. So they decided, okay, they got on the phone that day and bought it. Now this was a pretty big move too, because just because they had bought it didn't mean it was going to air. There was one more hurdle to clear. They had to take this before the KERA's board, which included a very important person named Betty Bloom Marcus. Now, Betty Bloom Marcus was the president of the Dallas Museum of Fine Arts. She was also the wife of the former Neiman Marcus board chairman Edward Marcus. Very important person on this board. But that kind of gives you the idea. You're going into the very buttoned down, well-to-do group of people with this board. So Wilson goes in and screens Monty Python's Flying Circus for the board, while DeVolier waited outside. And after the screening, DeVolier was standing outside, and he watched people walk out. Everybody was expressionless. Couldn't really get a feel for anything. Wilson came out. DeVolier said, "Well, how'd it go?" And Wilson said, "Well, they didn't walk out." He said, "Nobody laughed?" And Wilson said, "One person did. Betty Marcus. The one person that really needed to on that board." And so it was a done deal. They bought the show, and on September the 22nd of 1974, KERA Channel 13 started airing Monty Python for the first time in America. And other TV stations that were aware of the show, but were scared to death to put it on their stations, started calling people up saying, "Have you been stoned yet? Have you been fired yet?" Well, they aired that first episode, and they were not bombarded with calls complaining about it. And it was the beginning of everything for Monty Python's Flying Circus. And so you think about that. One person. It basically came down to Betty Marcus. If Betty Marcus did not like the show, I mean, you go back. First of all, DeVolier taking a chance on it, Robert Wilson taking a chance on it. It came down really to Betty Marcus. If Betty Marcus did not like the show, none of it would have happened. And if they had said no, the BBC was just going to put it away and forget about it. And so, Life of Brian never happens. Careers of people like John Cleese, Eric Idle, Terry Jones, Terry Gilliam, likely none of their careers happen. You don't have a Fish Called Wanda, more than likely. Anything that was inspired by Monty Python's Flying Circus doesn't happen. Which, who knows what all that is. The Secret Policeman's Ball never happens. Most likely, anyway. Something as well known, even if you're not a Monty Python fan, I'm sure you've heard of them, and you're aware of them. Something that was as popular and as well known as that came that close. A few laughs from the president of the Fine Arts Museum in Dallas away from not happening. And so I just thought that was a cool story. I just kind of started thinking about that, and then of course Dallas ended up for years after. They may still do it. I don't even know. For years after, they would run British comedies on Sunday night. And for me, I was exposed to a lot of British comedies as I was growing up. It was Open All Hours and Are You Being Served and all these Chef. That's another one. Keeping Up Appearances. And that's every Sunday night I was watching British comedies, and so I've kind of been exposed to that. Even though England is not Ireland, I'm aware of that, but I've just always been more open to humor from other parts of the world, and it can be very different. Even Australia, I watched, they even took a shot at the Paul Hogan show, as Australian comedies. I watched some of that when I was younger. I don't think the Australian, I think they tried a couple of others. The Australian comedies I don't think went over quite as well as the British comedies on Channel 13. But yeah, that was the Monty Python story. I just thought that was pretty interesting. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know, but just shows you that you never know. What I may do, it may take me a little while to get back. Let me go ahead and get into ramble. If you just came for the Monty Python stuff, there you go. What I wanted to ramble about was, it may take me a little while to get back around to everybody this week, because usually the way I do things is I upload a video, and then over the next couple of days I try to get back to everybody that commented since the last upload. And it may take me a little bit longer this time around, because I just need to, and so I think I'm gonna go somewhere. I just need to get away and turn everything off for a little bit. Spend the day doing something away from the house, and away from the computer, and away from editing, and away from social media, and all of that stuff. So it just may take me a little bit to get back around. Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed that story. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe, not necessarily in that order. Oh, sorry, I'm getting lost in my own brain here. I don't know what I'll put at the end. We'll have some kind of outtake, some kind of bonus footage, some kind of something at the end. But thanks for watching. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe, not necessarily in that order. And I will see you next time. I laid down on the couch. Whew. I laid down on the couch to take a little nap. Woke up and thought, oh man, I slept the day away. You know, I hadn't, because the storm moved in, and 4 o'clock in the afternoon looked like it was about 8 o'clock at night. I'd get out in it, but from what they're saying, they're not really worried about tornadoes, but the straight line winds is what they're really worried about. And this all just came at once. Like it went from no rain to this in like a matter of seconds. Welcome to tornado season. I never checked the mail.